This video was made possible by Dashlane. Try Dashlane for free on your first device by heading to dashlane.com/HAI. Here's a joke for you. What do you call a rock in the middle of the ocean? A sea shale. Get it? Shale like the rock, but then, you know what, I shouldn't explain it. Here's another one. What do you call two rocks in the middle of the ocean? Well, if you're Japan, you call it the island of Okinotorishima. Emphasis on island. Alright, that one wasn't funny, but let's be honest, the first one wasn't either. The island, and I'm using the term island loosely here, of Okinotorishima is found here in the Philippine Sea and was first discovered in the mid-16th century, possibly by this guy in 1543, and definitely by this guy in 1565, who named the then 5 rocks and surrounding coral reef Parece Vela, meaning looking like a sail, in recognition of how sails, as we all know, look exactly like 5 medium-sized rocks. In 1789, it was rediscovered by the English, who in classic English fashion assumed they were the first to find it and named it Douglas Reef because nobody named Doug lived on it. Or after Captain William Douglas, who's to say. The Japanese first visited in 1922 and 1925, then claimed it in 1931 and named it Okinotorishima, which translates to stupid tiny rocks that are in a strategically useful location that we're just going to lie about and say we just want for nature observation. Sorry, that's a mistake. It means remote bird islands. I mixed up Google Translate and Google Foreshadowing again. Anyways, because of Okinotorishima's strategic location between Taiwan and Guam, Japan wanted to build a military base on it, but to avoid controversy, they used a clever little technique called lying and said they were going to build a, quote, lighthouse and meteorological observation site. They began construction in 1939, but after a few years they had to stop because of a little conflict you probably haven't heard of called the Second World War, or as I call it, World War II, World II War. After the war, the rocks were given to the United States, adding to their rock collection, which includes Plymouth, Fraggle, and but in 1968, the US was busy with its national pastime of fighting wars and decided to re-gift them to Japan. Now, you might be wondering why the US would give up a valuable kind of island for no real reason, especially considering they've been holding on to useless islands like Baker, Howland, and Rhodes for centuries. Well, the thing is, Okinotorishima didn't really become valuable until 1982 when the nations of the UN got together and wrote a convention on the law of the sea, which they could have called something cool like the Treaty of Versailles or something, but they instead decided to name the 1982 UN Convention on the Law of the Sea. Among other things, that convention laid out the rules of exclusive economic zones, or EEZs, which allow a country to claim all of the water within a radius of 200 nautical miles, or 370.4 kilometers, or 189,385.4 the rocks of their shores as their EEZs. To be clear, they don't have sovereignty over that water, and it isn't part of their country, but they do have a number of rights over it, including rights to exploration and dibs on valuable natural resources. That's why Japan really wants these 2 dumb rocks to be an island. It means they get to claim this entire 154,500 square mile area as their exclusive economic zone, which means they would have exclusive access to its rich fishing grounds, rare metals, and suspected oil reserves. But that claim is hotly disputed, but not because people say Japan doesn't own Okinotorishima. Instead, they agree Japan owns it, they just say it's not an island, and by they, I basically mean China. Why, you ask, does China care? Well, apart from China wanting to have a monopoly on dumb fake islands, if the US ever wanted to send military troops from Guam to Taiwan to do military stuff, China sure would love to be able to give them a super special surprise of a bunch of submarines in their way. But to do that, they need to make a map of the ocean floor, and they need surveys for that map, and they can't do those surveys in Japan's EEZ. Plus, there's oil there, which people tend to get mad about because, you know, oil. So you're probably wondering then, is Okinotorishima an island or not? And the answer is probably or not. You see, the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea specifically distinguishes between islands, which they define as, quote, a naturally formed area of land surrounded by water which is above water at high tide, and rocks which, quote, cannot sustain human habitation or economic life of their own and, quote, shall have no exclusive economic zone or continental shelf. These rocks can't really sustain human habitation or economic life on their own because, you know, they're rocks, but that hasn't stopped Japan from pouring an obscene amount of money into trying to convince people otherwise. In 1987, they started building steel breakwaters and concrete walls around the rocks to protect them from erosion, and in 1988, they built the Japan Marine Science and Technology Center, which isn't actually on either of the rocks, but it's near them, so good enough, I guess. And finally, even though the UN Convention clearly says that man-made islands don't count, they built an artificial third rock because, as we all know, the only thing better than 2 dumb useless rocks is 3 dumb useless rocks. But in Japan's defense, they've only spent $600 million on the project so far. Spending $600 million trying to keep 2 rocks above water is dumb, but you know what's smart? Making everything you do online faster by using Dashlane. Dashlane is a mobile and desktop app that gives you a shortcut for everything you do online, offering one-click logins and autofilling personal and payment info at the touch of a button. You know when you're ordering something online, you have to type in your credit card number, and then your shipping address, and then your billing address, and then you forget your password and have to recover it, and by that point you forget what you were even buying in the first place? Well, Dashlane makes it so that'll never happen again, and it works every time across devices and platforms. You can try Dashlane for free on your first device by heading to dashlane.com/HAI, then when you want to upgrade to premium, use the code HAI for a discount.